Oseo.
Oseo.
Konnichiwa. We are in Japan. My theme today is boat. Boats. Japanese boats. And the first thing I'm going to start off with is to look at this banner here, hata, because that's going to figure in the piece I'm going to read. The banner is very significant. The design painted on it here is a tumultuous wind and waves and some flying birds. The significance of this is Izuminagi, the first cosmic kami born in the universe. When he blew his nose, then the storm kami came into being. So whenever you're seeing the storm and wind and waves, that's the Sky Father blowing his nose. Remember, everything's a kami. And significantly, the banner, the hata, is hanging from this spear, yari. And the significance of that, first off, is that the cosmic couple, Izanagi and Izanimi, they stirred the brine, the ocean, and then they lifted that up, and then the drops that fell from the end of their spear is what created the Japanese islands. So thereafter, the spearhead here is also the body of the kami. The kami resides in that. And all this is going to go with a piece that I'm reading. This is from very early Japan, in the beginning of the 8th century. And it's a recitation with magic words. The Korodama in the early times was a belief that the words had magical quality, power. And here these words are being said in a ritual way to send the ambassador off to China. So again, this is in the 700. Kyoko Korai no Utai Ishu. Poem wishing Godspeed to the ambassador to China. It has been recounted down through time since the age of the kami that this land of Yamato is a land of imperial kamis, a land blessed by the spirit of words. Every man of the present sees it before his eyes and knows it to be true. Men fill this land with their numbers, but among them our emperor sovereign of the high shining sun, a very kami, in the fullness of his love, chose for this mission you, the son of a house that governs the realm under heaven. And with the favor of his great command, you have been sent to the distant borders of China. As you set out, all the mighty kami that in their kaminess abide by the shore and by the offing, there to rule the plain of waters, lead you by the prow of your boat and the mighty kami of heaven and earth. First among them the supreme spirit of the land of Yamato, soar from the distant heavenly skies to watch over you. And on the day when your mission accomplished, you return. Again the mighty kami shall take the prow of your boat in their noble hands and bring you straight as a black rope stretched from Chika Cape to your berth by Otomo's noble beach. Go without hindrance, go with good fortune, and quickly return. Mitsu no hamapini tarahateni. Well, that's how we are beginning this, and now we can go to see what I'm featuring for this. This is a painted scroll, Japanese painted scroll, and on it are pictured 1 or 2 boats and an island here. And all this is very significant. This ostensibly, I would say, is a Zen painting. First of all, I have to say my long acquaintance with Japanese paintings. This is the only painting I have ever seen that has boats. In Japan, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of islands. And of course, myself being on a ship in those waters, it is teeming with boats, boats of all sizes and of all kinds. Yet I have never seen another painting of boats, nor have I ever seen any Japanese movies with boats. So I find that very strange, so much so that I consider this painting very rare. And it even has further rarities. First off, for the painting itself, as a Zen painting, it's in sumi ink, is a Mori Yoga. Mori Yoga means apparition painting, even ghost painting, where this boat here, you can see very plainly, very clearly inked in. This boat is very light. This is the apparition here. So the way that it is painted here is in very light or pale strokes and only lightly accented here. And then up here, land, island, so that this makes the three, it's called the three distances, so that you can see that. Or it can just be the close and far, and in all of that way. Now the other thing about this painting, beginning in about 1700, the Japanese, the Yamato Japanese of Honshu, decided to start moving head into the very northern island of Hokkaido, which is, comparable to, say, their new frontier. And so they were beginning to make settlements there. And for those settlements, they needed to supply them. So these boats here are very interesting. There's a name for them, but my memory has, not retained. I once knew the name for these boats who have particularly been built for this mission. And what they're doing is that they're taking supplies up the eastern side of Honshu all the way north to Hokkaido, and then they're coming down they're going up the western side, then they're coming down the eastern side here. I'm not exactly sure where they're starting from, but that I know that much. So that's very particular, and would suggest that this painting would have been painted when these boats were in view, operating, because the features on the boat are very specific. It's a specific kind of boat. And the way that it is propelled is by these rear oars. And very, very often over there in the Japanese waters, I definitely saw people propelling boats by this rudder oar rather than by sails. Whether any of the rigging can figure into sails, well, I don't know. And so the other thing that I'm pointing out here is this figure here. This is a Haniwa figure of 2,000 years ago, but he is definitely, a mariner, a sailor, like that. And that my being a sailor myself at one time, I can say that sailors tend to be very conservative in their tradition. So that it practically at any time through the centuries, I venture to say that the 2,000-year-old mariner looked much the same as the 17 or 1800-year-old mariner. And also in the great tombs that are here and there on the Japanese islands, inside, at least in one or two of those, there are etchings on the stone walls that definitely shows, this figure with this tall hat and so forth, and with boats there. So certainly my guess is correct that this Haniwa figure, 2,000 years old, is a mariner. And then I have here this model of an Asian boat, and aboard is The only word that I know in Japanese for boat is fune. And there may be different names for different boats, but that's the only one that I know. So the kami there, and that's funidama. Funidama is the boat kami. And encircling the top of the mast are shide, and that is cut paper offerings, which denote that a kami is present. It's both, an offering and also saying that this is a kami is there. And then down here, this is my doll for the funikami, and as her symbol, she is holding the anchor kami. And then below that, this figure here is Okuninushi. Actually, kami, great master of the great land, Yamato. Yamato means basically mountainous place. And the name Yamato still surrounds, the province and city of Nara. But at one time it meant the kingdom, and the first kingdom, and referred to that way. And Okuninushi is designated as kami, but among the thousands and even millions of kami, this one kami is actually a myth being. He has all of the features of a myth person, very similar to the labors of Hercules, for one. And also, even bringing it over here to the Navajo, and that is Monster Slayer, is also a figure, a mythical figure that Okuninushi very much resembles. And he is, the principal shaper of the land. Maybe he has a mallet in his hand, like Thor's hammer. And his Izumo is his major shrine, and he has many, many shrines, and his figure is very prolific just about anywhere. So he's very significant, and especially at this early time. When you exactly say that he's a founder of the land itself. Now over here, this is an old cast iron boat lantern, shoji. And it's interesting also because I highlighted on the rim that you can see there, and that's the chrysanthemum crest, the emblem of the emperor. So that, to me at least, suggests that this lantern was once royal property. So I do have some Japanese poems to go with this theme. Maruyama Kaoru. He lived from 1899 to 1974. So this first one. Estuary. The ship lowers its anchor. The hearts of the seamen also lower their anchors. From the fresh water, seagulls greet the creaking halyards. Fish come near the bilge hole. The captain changes his suit, dyed by the salt winds, and goes ashore. It gets so that even after nightfall, he seldom returns. How many more oyster shells have grown on the hull already? Each time the dusk thickens, his son, a sailor, alone, lights the blue lamp at the bowsprit. Mm. And now, same author, he follows by these. Song of the Lamp. Beyond my sight, deep into the darkness, the anchor chain disappears on the face of the sea. Beyond my sight, High into the darkness, the halyard escapes towards the mast. My light is meager. It can only shine on my blind face, staring at me in the distance. In the darkness, I cannot see. A gull calls. Now this is the song of the gull. Even myself cannot see my figure. How can the lamp or the sail that reflects the lamp see it? But I can clearly see the lamp and the sail. Frozen and distant, I only circle in the darkness. And now, Song of the Dark Sea. A gull is whispering to the anchor's ear. Suddenly, without a word, the anchor slides and falls. Surprised, the gull flies away. For a moment, the anchor pales in the water and goes down. The thoughts that remained in the gull's chest turn into sad calls and scatter in the sky. The flock of gulls, voice swallowed in the dark sea, must be already rising to their feet on the face of the sea, far in the darkness. The lamp was at least illuminating the rain at the bow. The river is black. A single white lamp lights on its breast.